A very basic logo and slogan appears with a beautiful lake scene in the backdrop. Coming up on this amateur travel video production, we observe a majestic waterfall that is a stone's throw away from the car park. We observe Christy and Valo, our dog, exploring the lake while being blown away by the wind. The shaky camera returns, moving around the ruins of the old buildings, but the camera then pans to reveal the hillscape and the beautiful lake below. Christy is stood at the entrance of a slate mine trying to take a photo as she peers into the abyss. A helpful map with GPS and what 3 words information appears, but is displayed as if it was created in 5 minutes with Microsoft Paint. A circular map of the area clearly downloaded from Google Maps is displayed, the irony being it's contained in a circle when it's a linear route. This humours me. Some helpful information appears warning people there's a small incline at the very start. You can make this a short or long walk and is very dog friendly, with certain sections with having wildlife in them. Travel directions to this destination will be contained in the description. The camera fades and a time-lapse shot within the car is taking us through the landscape of the area. The camera fades in with my ugly mug staring at us. At least I've positioned myself behind a beautiful running waterfall. Luckily I interrupt myself and the camera is now solely focused on the waterfall. The camera violently pans right to reveal the car park, then moves onwards to show Christy and Valo playing in the stream created by the waterfall. The camera pans back left to take one last look at the majestic waterfall. Oh, I've appeared in front of the camera again, but this time I've started to climb the hill deeper towards Kidmorphin Lake, but in the backdrop there's other lakes in the distance begging to be explored. The hill trail is solid but has pieces of slate amongst it, and the car park is now fading into the distance. Be thankful the audio has been replaced. I'm so out of breath and nasally in this scene, it's not pretty at all. I think the hill has affected my balance as the camera starts to shake, but what's new there? The camera fades and we are met with a bird's eye view of the cascading stream as it forms a small waterfall along its journey, with a pool of water at the top of the hill. After the camera transitions, we are now further up the hill. The camera pans right, showing what's on the other side of the gully. A small brick pyramid, safety signs, the hills full of slate, and Christy staring off into the distance. Gah, my face appears once again. I swear he's haunting us, or trying to give us useful information. The shot starts with the hills of slate piled up on either side, with a pathway through the middle, winding and heading up a slate hillside. Ruins of a chapel are above my head, perched on the hillside overlooking the landscape. The camera pans left as I take the viewer for a spin, revealing mass quantities of slate covering the hills like snow. Oh lord, that pan shot was way too quick, it made me dizzy, but I still decide to start with walking with the camera. With the camera now facing the other direction as I speak to it, there are hills in the distance not covered in slate or other vegetation. The camera fades in and starts to zoom in slowly towards the aforementioned chapel ruins. As the camera zooms in, Christy and Valo make their way ever so slowly up the hill towards the chapel. We are now presented with a classic case of camera abandonment, as the camera zooms to the right, revealing Christy, Valo and I making their way up the slate hill. The camera slowly zooms out, revealing the scale of the hill we're hiking up, about 20 meters tops, and the chapel now on our far left. I suddenly appear again, but the backdrop now consists of a man-made slate bridge leading across the stream onto a path leading towards the chapel ruins and the hill surrounding it. The camera pans violently right to show a quick preview of the lake, which can be just made out in the distance. I disappear and I'm now located behind the camera, walking across the small narrow slate bridge across the stream. The camera fades in, now standing on the outskirts of the chapel ruins. It slowly pans right to show the depth of the structure. The camera appears to have shifted to the other side of the ruins as it explores the slate ruins of the chapel, being careful not to slip and fall on the large slate debris all around us. The camera quickly pans right, revealing the length of the ruins, before fading to another angle, this time standing within the ruins, panning to see the view of the lake from above this hillside. We've moved slightly down the path now, but we look back at the chapel with the backdrop of the slate hillside now directly behind it. The camera now cuts back to Valo, dipping his toes into the stream. This is a beautiful shot as it shows the flow of the stream coming down from the lake. Valo is enjoying his time in the water, cooling down his feet on this hot day with a smile on his face. The shaky camera is back as I walk down the path leading away from the chapel, but the lake is now in front of us in all its majesty, surrounded by all the hills and slate. The camera now looks back at the ruins, but pans left, revealing the lake, slate hills and other ruins, signifying the moving on from this location. Well, that was short-lived, as I'm in front of the camera again. I know you want to give your videos a little bit of a personal touch, but I'm one ugly guy. The backdrop is the path and lake, parallel going off into the distance. Across the lake is a house surrounded by ruins with the slate hills behind them. I'm rambling on how it's advised to research content ahead of time, likely using better resources than my horror videos, and know what there's to offer at the location. All the while this is going on, I'm just focused on how nasally I sound and the ever so small bogey in my left nostril, just wanting to grab my past self a tissue. I pan the camera left, showing the expansive length of the lake with it having a reflective surface upon it. The camera fades back into my face in front of the camera. What a false sense of hope. I'm walking along the path parallel to the lake with the slate landscape behind me. Due to the walking, the camera is shaking and there's a slight rattle, which I'm assuming is from my equipment becoming loose. I'm letting the audience know this is a safe place to bring your dogs. There's a limited amount of wildlife here, so they can be let loose in certain areas, but be wary of your surroundings. We transition into a landscape shot with the ruins of a small house in the center. Christy is kneeling down trying to take a photo of Vallow in front of the house. The camera is now closer to the ruins. As it pans left, it has sight of Vallow, who impatiently gets up to run to Christy, ruining her shot. The camera now pans left away from the ruins, revealing the end of the lake as it is now but a little stream, but also reveals another set of ruins, a waterfall and expansive hills. The camera looks upon a slate tablet. On it is a sign written in Welsh. The camera pans left along the path, revealing a house, and we assume the sign is an introduction to the history of said house. The camera gets a little closer to the ruins. The motion of the camera has a little shudders of movement, as it either scared or unsure where to go. We are now in front of the house with the camera looking at Vallow. I'm asking him if he wants to go explore the house. The camera pans left to the entrance of the house. The camera is now looking upon the backyard of the ruins, where a makeshift slate bench has been made in a circular shape. Christy is exploring the grounds with Vallow, but as I approach, he wanders over to greet me, hoping for snacks. Camera fades, now located further into the backyard. The camera pans right to follow Christy and Vallow towards the ruins. The camera shows the surroundings of the ruins, with bits of slate scattered around the area. The camera fades to the path leading away from the ruins. This path leads to more ruins, and there's a winding path to our right into the hills. We are now in the aforementioned ruins. The camera shows the landscape with the lake so far in the distance now. There are huge mounds of slate in the backdrop, raising so high to match the height of the hillside. The camera continues to pan, showing the length of the ruins, but the end with a very long waterfall in the backdrop. Then, the camera pans violently in the other direction, worried Christy has run off without me. The camera is focused on the aforementioned waterfall as it flows down the hillside. The camera slowly pans left towards the ruins. It passes close by, almost worried we are going to slam into it by accident. The camera continues to pan, doing a full 360 movement while reaffirming the beauty that exists in Wales. From the hillside, the landscapes and the lake, there is so much to admire. Focus returns back to the ruins, and I start to walk alongside them as the exploration of the area begins. Camera is placed upon the ruins, with the waterfall and the hillside in front of us and the pathway between them. Christy, Vallow and I walk along the pathway, stopping before the waterfall and admiring it. We're now at the base of the waterfall as water pools at the bottom. Christy and Vallow are looking on, but Vallow has other plans as he rushes off away from the waterfall to go smell other things. The camera fades back to the slate bridge by the chapel as Christy and Vallow eagerly cross it. The camera has been left on the shore of the lake. Sadly, it's slightly lopsided as it looks at the landscape and is going to fall off to the right. The pathway is to the right as it follows the slate hillside around to the house in the distance. From the house, there is slate lining the hillside around the majestic lake. Christy, Vallow and I are relaxing on the shore of the lake. Ballo is dipping his toes in the water, cooling himself down, having a little shake and hoping for treats. The camera now shows the landscape of where we've already been, the pathway to the chapel and the path we're now on, leading around to the other side of the lake, revealing the house at the lake and the ruins around it. The camera pans right around the side of the house with a grass pathway in front of us sheltered around nature, creating a small archway that we aim to go through. As I go through the archway, the shaky camera returns, but the travels through these branches seem like a fun entrance to a whole new area. We stumble through the branches with Christian Ballo slightly in front of us, eager to visit the ruins ahead. With passing through the archway, the camera looks down the hillside from which we came, showing the outline of the lake prior to panning right to the new ruins to explore. Now, in the heart of the ruins, as I slowly stroll carefully through, trying to avoid the rubble and branches, not to mention the shaky cam. I peer into each of the rooms of the ruins before panning right, showing that these ruins overlook the lake as Christy looks for a spot to take a photo. The camera is now settled down on a wall facing the ruins. Ballo is laid down and relaxing in the shadow of the said ruins. Ballo gets up, excited to see us on our approach, as Christy and I guide Ballo away from the ruins and down the pathway. The camera takes one last sweep of the ruins of this little mini village. Exploring the long structure closest to the river, I peer in with the camera, stumbling on my way in. There's much rubble on the floor, including corrugated metal sheets and vegetation. There's light piercing the ground from the holes in the roof. I observe this prior to panning right and leaving the ruins. The camera sweeps left to reveal Christy and Ballo exploring the area before leading down the path. The camera fades in, looking at the ruins we have just come from. The camera starts to pan left. The camera ends its movement with a winding path surrounded by slate piles as it directs you back to the lake. The camera fades in, looking out at the lake with the hillside scaling upwards in the backdrop. Christy and Ballo are perched on a peninsula as the wind is soaring all around us, presented in the ripples in the lake's surface. Mindful of the onslaught of wind, we retreat from the lake towards the camera. The camera is now facing the other way, although at an angle that is presented it looks like it's about to fall over. Christy, Ballo and I walk past the tilted camera they're leaving in their wake. The camera sets its sights to a mine shaft in the distance, foreshadowing our next location. The camera fades in, revealing Christy and Ballo walking towards a now much closer entrance to the mine shaft. I travel ever so slowly with the camera in hand, but the shaky camera is ever so evident as I slip and slide over the makeshift pathway made up of slate that is slippery due to the water gathering from the mine shaft. I appear in front of the camera. I thought I had given up showing the audience my mug, but alas, I'm here again. The mine shaft is just over my shoulder, and below that a trickling stream layering a path into the darkness. I talk about how the mine shaft is closed off, but we're taking turns sheltering inside for both the cool air and to explore the entrance out of curiosity. The camera fades in, almost touching the metal bars that restrict people entering the mine shaft. The light inside is unable to pierce the dark veil. The camera pans right to reveal the exit of the mine shaft and the outdoor landscape where Christy and Ballo are waiting. The camera tilts down to focus on an impatient Ballo. The camera switches perspective. The camera faces the mine shaft entrance once again, but with Christy venturing inwards to take sight or lack thereof this time. The camera is facing the pathway out of this area now, facing the hills in the distance as the camera observes Christy and Ballo leaving the area to venture on. The camera finds a new home on the floor, facing the pathway leading to the chapel. Christy, Ballo and I walk past the camera making good pace as we are short on supplies to manage with this heat. The camera is now looking down the hill on the stretch of pathway that we first started the journey on, as the camera pans, revealing Ballo eager to jump into the stream. The camera is now further down the pathway, looking at another lake located on the opposite side of the gully, with a new path beyond that. The camera fades to facing the chapel as the camera violently pans left to reveal the stream once again. A beautiful yet stomach-churning shot as the outtake text appears on the screen. Christy and Ballo are playing in the stream next to the car park. I'm noting we've been here distracted for quite some time. I'm plodding along the ruins of the chapel. The shaky cam is present, but I'm rambling on how Christy and I always talk over each other while recording our footage. We need a signal that says, I'm recording.
Oh, they say edit it in post. You can't edit your personality in post. You haven't got one, Ryan.
I'm walking on the path with the hills in the backdrop with the fog rolling in over the tops of them, heading towards a set of ruins, rambling on about how the footage is shakily and rattling. I'm now looking at the aforementioned ruins, where I'm mocking the disaster that is taking photos of Valo as he runs to Christy barking for treats. The camera is wobbling its way down to the lake shore.
Brought to you by wind, sunshine, and shaky cam.
The camera stumbles around a corner of the ruins, with the lake in the backdrop as I observe Christy trying to take a photo and Valo won't stop barking. The screen fades, displaying a photo of Valo in Christy's denim jacket. I'm glad you made it to the end. Valo and I really appreciate it. I learnt early on humour was needed to make up for my monotone voice. If you want more of this content and are a glutton for punishment, consider subscribing. Please check out our other content and maybe visit Valo's Instagram, the link is in the description. But most of all, leave a comment. We wish you all the best on your journey in whatever form that takes. Bye now.